make too many mistakes. As a whole, obviously I had a mistake there. They wanted a little more, so you got to give hats off to them.
The Cowboys wanted it a little more than the Eagles, according to Saquon Barkley there. As we welcome you here to Birds Huddle, presented by Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL, alongside Barrett Brooks and Jason Avant. I'm Amy Fadul, and gentlemen, we've had a day now to stew over the loss.
Yeah, I've been stewing, too.
I was going to say.
Yeah, I've been stewing, yeah.
Any less frustrated, babe?
No, I'm even more frustrated because I was able to watch the game. And since I've watched the game, I'm even more frustrated about what I saw.
I mean, it's got to be. It just kind of is marinating now at this point, Jason. You're more frustrated?
You just want to believe that the Eagles is a Super Bowl caliber team.
Do.
A game like that just kind of puts that in doubt.
Yep. Ooh, yeah, it really does. Let's get right to our three-point stance, presented by Toyota. First up, Sunday's loss to the Cowboys exposed the Eagles. There were issues on the offensive side of the ball the last couple of weeks. We all saw that. The Eagles masked them because they were winning, right? The W cures all ills, but not anymore after they squandered a 21-0 lead against Dallas. Here's Jalen Hurts following yesterday's loss.
We got to find a way to finish the game, and we got to find some consistency in what we do. You know, definitely the tell of two halves, but in the end, we didn't play a complete game as a team. And today it got us. You give a lot of respect to Dallas and their team, how they competed. Something, the question right now is just how we respond to it. And I have a lot of confidence in how we respond.
You can see the factors that contributed to the Eagles' collapse in North Texas. The offense shut down after a great start. Way too many penalties. 2 costly fourth-quarter turnovers. Oh, is that all? Barrett, what bothered you the most?
I mean, the lack of discipline. That's the biggest thing. Lack of discipline, undisciplined football. You know, to go out there and just be beat up like that. We got out-physical. You know, we did stupid mistakes. You know, I mean, pre-snap penalties. You know, doing stuff that, you know, this is a team that they went to the Super Bowl last year, and all of a sudden to come back, and now they're just doing stuff like, you know, pre-snap penalties. It's just ridiculous, you know. So I think that's the biggest thing. You know, I was always that tackle that came in, you know, my last 4 years of my career. I was the, you know, goal line tight end, so I have to report eligible. A receiver has to understand that he can't line up over the top of me. You can't do that. That means you're covering me up. That means, you know, it's a legal formation. So not everybody, you know, saying it's the tackle's fault. No, it's AJ's fault for doing that. Little things like that. And then, you know, to sit back, I see guys out there battling and fighting, and then, you know, for half the play, and then they admire their work. You know, Sidney Brown, he goes out and he's playing physical. He's playing the gunner. He knocks the gunner down twice, you know what I'm saying, and then stopped and just looked at him like, look what I just did. The same got up, out-hustled him, and ran and made the hit on the returner for a fumble. You just can't do that. Fred Johnson goes out there and mauls the defensive end, throws him on the ground, and sits back and puts his hands on his hip and looks, and then the guy goes and runs Jalen Hurts out of bounds. You can't do that. You got to keep fighting until you hear that whistle blow. You're fighting like your life is dependent on it, and I didn't see that. I saw Dallas doing it, but I didn't see our team doing it.
I mean, there was a lot of things to take away from it, not many of them very good. What was the thing that stood out to you?
Well, we thought our defense was basically the 85 Bears after the Lions game. And it showed that maybe the Lions game was maybe, I won't say an anomaly, but not the true depiction of who this defense is. Maybe the Lions game, there was a bunch of win and their offense was negated because of that. Because in this ball game, we started to see some things. The Cowboys able to control the line of scrimmage with their big offensive line. We saw a refusal to get into George Pickens' face and jam him at the line in critical moments. He had free access that entire time. Why was that so? And then we saw a team that was just out physical, like Barrett said. And the other big takeaway of this is that when did we become like the mindless, just undisciplined football team? Under Sirianni, it just hadn't been. So this time we had 3 drives in the second half that was negated from points because of a penalty. And you can't have that if you're a championship football team.
Yeah, you're moving the ball down the field. All of a sudden you look around, you're like, we're walking right back after that nice gain. Let's check out our second stance now. Saquon Barkley, he just doesn't look like the same back as last year. Barkley had just 22 yards on 10 carries yesterday. He's averaging 3.7 yards a carry this season. Following yesterday's loss, Barkley was asked if he's frustrated with the Eagles' struggling run game.
I wouldn't say frustrated, more disappointed in myself. Not frustrated with anybody else. I'm a big believer that the run game starts with me and ends with me. So I'm in a little funk right now. I've had funks like this before. Just got to break it. And the only way I know how is by flushing this, working my butt off, and get ready for my next opportunity.
Next opportunity is Friday. Check out Saquon's numbers through 11 games last year compared to his 11 games this year. Huge drop-off across the board. I mean, significant drop-off. So, Jason, we were all watching postgame last night, and it was must-see TV, as it always is, but really was last night. You were critical of Saquon, saying it just doesn't seem to be running as hungry as he did last year. Do you feel that way for any specific reason? What do you mean by that?
Well, it's not about him running particularly in the yards. It's about his attitude and his disposition when he's running. When you see Tank get into the game, you see a hungry player. When you see Saquon Barkley in the game, sometimes you see him go down underneath tackles way before it's time for a running back, or he goes out of bounds when he's in pursuit by a defensive back. No running backs take on defensive backs. No running backs let you know that they squat 600 pounds. I can't tell that Saquon squats 600 pounds. It looks like his legs are flimsy at times and he's going down, like he's preserving himself. And/or he's satisfied from the contract, satisfied from the Super Bowl. That's not what I want from Saquon Barkley. He's way too good of a player, and maybe he's discouraged because of the offensive line and the holes not opening up, but he has to be hungry. Like Jason Kelce said, hungry dogs run faster, and he's not doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point about the offensive line. I'm sure there's some frustration there. So, Barrett, is it more Saquon Barkley with the running style he's going with, or is it the offensive line?
I got to take my hat off to this offensive line because they're going to make me put it back on, honestly. I mean, right now, health is such a big issue. Cam Jurgens is a really good player, but this is not the Cam Jurgens I've seen in the past. Cam Jurgens is hurt. He is really hurt. And if you look at it, that knee is really bothering him. He can't press off. He can't push guys. At this point, he's getting pushed back. This is not the Cam Jurgens I know I've seen play. This ain't the Cam Jurgens I saw in Nebraska. That injury is really hurting him right now. And I hate to say this, but, I mean, maybe we need to save him from himself. He's out there balling and trying to fight, you know what I'm saying? He's trying to get this team and win one for the Gipper when we might need to save him from himself, you know, because at this point, he's just getting pushed around too much. In the passing game, he's straight-legged because he can't really bend in that knee, and you got to play the game with angles. His knee is not an angle. His knee is like, you know, playing straight up and down. You can't be that way. So I think, you know, with the injuries, our starting all-world right tackle is not in the game right now. You know, Lane Johnson's not playing. It's just tough football to watch for the offensive line.
Yeah, it is. Well, speaking of injuries, that brings us to our third stance. Injuries are piling up in the secondary. Safeties Reed Blankenship, Andrew Makuba both left yesterday's game, as did cornerback Adoree Jackson. We'll learn this afternoon Makuba has a fractured ankle that will require surgery. Eagles are still determining whether Makuba is going to be able to return this season. Blankenship has a thigh injury. Jackson is in concussion protocol. Makuba is the headliner here. Barrett, whether he returns this season or not, it's a big loss for the secondary, which was already a little bit shaky at times.
Not a little bit, a lot shaky. Yeah. You know, he was playing pretty consistent. You know, he's playing, you know, a position where he was coming down and he had to make a lot of plays, you know, and who's going to take that position right now? Sidney Brown's next in line. You know, we don't have, you know, really anybody to come in and play for him right now. So what do? We saw us get taken advantage of on the outside when we put DeJean out there. I don't know if it's whether, you know, he can come in and play that position, the safety position, or he's put him back out there at cornerback. But, I mean, I'll leave that to Jason. Jason, what do you think they need to do, man?
Well, so there's a couple of things that the Eagles can do. You don't know when Reed's coming back.
Right.
You're hoping that you at least get him back so you can have Sidney Brown out there. And we saw the experiment of Cooper DeJean out on the edge, which is a totally different game because those are lions on the outside that you have to be a superior athlete to be out there. So here's a scenario that can work is that you put Cooper DeJean at safety because he had a lot of reps in training camp and in the first few games of him being at the safety position. Now you have Michael Carter in there. You can bring in Ja'Cory Bennett. That's a way that you can get around some of these injuries. And then you have Andre Sam that's on practice squad that you can elevate him. Hopefully he can come in and get some reps. But you're going to have to piecemeal this. You're going to have to piecemeal this for a while if those guys are out.
Yeah. We have to rely on that front seven.
That's
really
the thing. You got to get that pass rush at the front. You got to get that push at the front, help the guys out in the back of that defense.